Good morning, everyone, and welcome to my speech about circular design for jeans. I would like to quickly introduce myself in a few sentences. Since my studies in fashion design around 12 years ago, I'm working in the denim business. But I basically had the feeling that in my former job as a head of design back then in Germany, I had the power to decide which fabrics we are using and with which suppliers we are working, but I had a huge lack of knowledge what will be the most sustainable option. So I started a second studies in sustainability management in textiles in Switzerland at the beginning of COVID time. And after that studies, with all that new knowledge, I could not go back again to normal, so there needs to be a change. So I became self-employed, moved to Amsterdam, and now I'm happy to be a part of the positive change of the denim industry. So I'm freelancing for Mud Jeans, a circular denim brand. I also give workshops in sustainability and advise brands on their way to a more sustainable future. So let's start. Circular design for jeans. So first of all, this presentation is a mixture of guidelines from the Jeans Redesign Principles from the Ellen MacArthur Foundation. Some are also part of the Dutch Denim Deal. It is about recycling requirements in general for jeans and also about my personal experience as a designer for Mud Jeans and based on our loop. Good news first, we have a huge impact. Decisions made during the design phase are responsible for 80 to 90% of the environmental and economic costs, a guide to circular fashion announces. That sounds immense, but actually makes sense, because if your collection is done, no one will change your supply chain just to make it greener or circular. So if you want to have a circular garment, you need to take care of it from the very beginning, so from the design. But first of all, let's define what circularity means in detail, that we know the goal for today and it's crystal clear. First of all, that's quite logic, we need to be able to recycle the garment and create a new garment in the same quality out of it again. So jeans should become jeans, not insulation material or painter fleece. That would be downcycling, and we don't want that. Second thing is we want to stretch that loop for as long as possible. Why we create durable products on high quality? Because we know that every recycling loop consumes resources. And the second thing is we need to minimal our impact within every loop. We want to reduce water use and avoid using toxic chemicals. So here you can see a simplified circular supply chain of a jeans. And nearly every step you can see here is either created by designers or chosen by designers. So you create the fit and style, which I name it a creative concept. You choose the fibers suitable for recycling or /and already recycled. You request the technology for the indigo dyeing. You choose the construction of the denim. You design the trims. And you also choose the material they are made of. Cutting and sewing comes with the pattern. This is developed together with the pattern designer and the garment designer. Sewing comes with the workmanship you specify. Industrial washing is developed together with a washing expert, and of course distribution and sale is not our part anymore. So you need to take care to create every step as circular as possible to have the most impact. I don't have the time to go into detail for every step, but I would like to focus on following. First of all, I would like to talk about creative concept in general of a new style, about choosing the suitable materials for recycling and disassembly, and I want to talk about industrial washing, what is actually the authentic optic and the authentic industrial washing for a denim. So the creative concept, by creating a new style in general, we need to consider following: the season, the style the label is known for, upcoming trends, our target group, their bodies and their wallets, of course. But when it comes to circularity, we need to add two important considerations more. We need to take care for physical durability by creating a product which will be worn for many years and last for long, and also emotional durability, how Alan MacArthur calls it in their jeans redesign principles. I love that term. It's kind of like a durability in style, because we want to catch the interest of the customer, because of course we want to sell that jeans, but we want to avoid overwhelming him or her by making it too complicated and too fashionable to become out of fashion after one season. So we want a decent implementation of trends and focus on details. So for me, it turned out to be helpful to stick to one eye catcher for the jean, to make it not too complicated and focus on like one special item. So either I create a special fit or silhouette, so maybe an example would be a worker style with large attached pockets on the side seam, so that style would be super visibly special. I can also go for a special denim fabric, so maybe an open visible twill, broken twill structure or heavyweight denim, what I feel will be kind of a trend in the next season. So in that case, I go for an existing bestseller to make the denim the eye catcher. I can also go for a crazy new washing, like for example, some seasons ago, many labels developed some batik wash styles or also dip dye effects to create strong visible contrasts. Another option would be to go for visible trims, then maybe choose a existing boyfriend or girlfriend style and add a visible button, open button fly at the front to make the trims the eye catcher. So if the eye catcher is chosen wisely and balanced with other features, you basically enlarge the chance to create a garment with emotional durability. So after the concept is done, we're going to choose material for the jeans. And we ensure it is high quality, durable, comfy, lasts for long. We try to avoid using blends. This is important for recycling. I will come to that later. And we try to avoid using too much resources. Traceability and transparency is a plus, of course. So there are many parts of a jean. There is fabric, of course, which is the biggest part. There are buttons, rivets, sewing yarn, and labels, but I will take a look into it step by step. And let's start with the denim fabric. So choosing the most circular denim fabric has, of course, a huge impact of the whole circularity of the garment, because this is the biggest part. Did you know that it takes actually 4.2 square meters and half a year to grow the cotton we need for one jean? So wouldn't it be great to be able to minimize that impact or that area by using what is already there? So by using post-consumer recycled cotton coming from worn jeans, worn garments, we can reduce the impact of farming. So circularity always means think further and be aware of the next loop, so the next step you want to create. So this is why I start with the recycling content for our denim fabric. So here you can see garments which are disassembled and go back into the recycling loop. That means trims are detached from the garment and the fabric goes into shredding. It goes through different shredding machines which crush the fabric into smaller and smaller pieces. So in this mechanical shredding or recycling technology, an amount of 95% cotton fibers at least is required. And up to 5% synthetic fibers would be able, without making it too complicated, to make new yarn and then new denim fabric out of it. So we can have maximum 5% of other fibers in our fabrics. At least this is the process Jeans is using. It may vary a bit from company to company. Some are also not able to have any synthetic content. Okay, we want to reach the single fiber again, which actually looks really close to a fresh cotton lint, just with some pigments on it and colors. So at the moment, it is not possible yet to create a fabric out of 100% post-consumer recycled content. This is because the fabrics are shredded, so shorter and lower in quality. And if we would make a yarn out of it, it would be not that durable and not that strong enough to create a fabric which we want to have to make a durable garment. So we need to blend the post-consumer recycled cotton with some virgin cotton. So mud uses rigid denims with 40% post-consumer recycled cotton blended with 60% organic cotton. What turns out to be the limit so far in the industry. We are working on the 100%, but are not there yet for distribution and sale. There may be denims out there with a higher recycling content, but then it's a mixture of pre- and post-consumer recycling. Mud focuses on post-consumer recycling, so we want to use used garments and worn garments to do something against all that wasted garments out there in landfill and so on. So we want to have a closed circle and make jeans out of old jeans. So we still need some cotton to blend our recycling content with. So cotton has a huge impact on the environment. It consumes lots of water. Conventional cotton also needs lots of pesticides and energy to grow. So we can minimize the impact by going for organic cotton or cotton grown in regenerative agriculture. So that would minimize the impact. But up to now, this is the sore point of the circular denim industry, that we need to add virgin cotton to our loop. So this is the single thing we need to add to our loop for every circle to create a durable yarn and a high quality fabric. But we can further minimize the impact by replacing some virgin cotton fibers with another great material. So hemp fibers are kind of a trend right now and coming back to the textile industry. I think there are also some hemp fibers are out there on the fair. Hemp and denim are a perfect combination because the rough texture of the hemp fibers fits perfectly to the authentic structure of the denim. And sustainable-wise, hemp has many advantages. First of all, insects don't like hemp very much, so you don't need any chemical insecticides or protection, so this is really a nice plus. And there are also studies that the outcome of hemp is twice as much for the same area compared to cotton, and the water use is just a quarter of the amount cotton requires. So going for a certain percentage of hemp actually makes sense to reduce the impact of farming. Up to 30% hemp fibers are possible for basic denim, so I'm wearing 30% hemp. Together with recycled post-consumer cotton and organic cotton. So this is like one of the most circular options, but I will explain that. So that would be the most circular denim fabric, or like the guideline for the composition we want to go for. So use as much as recycling content as possible, preferably coming from post-consumer sources, blended with some organic cotton to keep the quality we need, and replace some virgin cotton with hemp fibers to further reduce the impact of farming. And if you really need a stretch denim because of the fit, you need to be aware that elastan is a synthetic material coming from crude oil, but there are actually options based on natural sources or also recycled elastan, so that would be an option to further reduce the impact of synthetic fibers. The more elastan or the more synthetic fibers you use, the more challenging will be the mechanical recycling. So you see, in that guideline, there is no super stretch denim. So be aware, for every super stretch denim you choose for the next creative concept, the mechanical recycling is super tricky and will not work with the shredding technology. And it's not trend anymore, so Let's go for rigid. So after the composition is chosen, we need to dye our fabric. Indigo is the color which makes jeans blue. Indigo also makes your fingers and sneakers blue if you wear a new dark jean. That actually may be unpleasant, but is exactly what makes denim to be denim. And we need that fading property later for industrial washing. So denim is yarn dyed. That means the warp yarns are indigo dyed and the weft stays undyed, at least for basic denims. There are overdyed versions as well, but I will focus on this one. Indigo is a really great pigment, but it comes with some challenges in dyeing. First of all, indigo is not soluble in water. So that means it basically behaves like sand, it just won't dissolve. But a kind of fluid base is needed to dye the yarn in indigo blue. So we need to force that indigo pigment to become water soluble. That happens with the help of a reducing agent. So these chemicals start a process which in the end make indigo water soluble and enables it to dye the yarn in indigo. So with this technology, the warp yarn is dyed in several hot indigo dyeing baths to create the dark indigo blue color we want for our jean. Indigo is a really big pigment, so that means it will not penetrate the core of the yarn. It will just stay on the surface, and this is why it needs to be applied in several layers. This is why we need several hot dyeing fluid indigo baths. The problem is this is a high energy consuming process. They are hot baths, chemicals are in there because those reducing agents poison the sewage and the wastewater as well. And yeah, you need long production lines to dip up to 15 indigo dyeing baths. So actually our problem is, sustainable-wise, the combination of indigo and water. But since a few years, there are versions to dye the yarn without the use of any water. Sounds science fiction, but actually works. So in that new sustainable water-saving technology, indigo is applied in a highly concentrated foam, basically, without the use of any water. So there are many similar versions out there. It depends on the supplier. It is available under different terms. Some use some kind of indigo fog, some use some kind of gel, but all try to avoid water or use as less water as possible. So going for or requesting these kind of special indigo dyeing technique is one step towards a circular and more sustainable denim fabric. It is actually available at many suppliers already. You just need to ask for it. And in my opinion, I just need 5 minutes more. I hope that's okay. Okay. Some denims are available already with that special dyeing technology, but I think more suppliers should work on to offer more basic denims also dyed with this water-saving dyeing technology to enable also smaller labels to work with more sustainable technology. Okay, because time is short, I will go through here quickly. After the denim is chosen, we need to add some trims to our jean. Be aware that everything you add to the garment needs either be the same composition as your jeans or also be able to be disassembled and recycled separately. So if you use pocket lining, try to avoid blends, use 100% organic cotton, which would be the most sustainable choice, then this can go into shredding as well. For metal trims, try to take care that you avoid electroplating. This comes with toxic chemicals and high energy use. And be aware that those normal patent buttons have those plastic part inside the neck, which will not enable a further melting and recycling to a new button. So, but there are versions without that plastic part, and they need to be just like requested. A short sentence to zippers: they cannot be recycled yet. They can, but they will not be recycled yet. So go for buttonfly is much more sustainable. When it comes to the waistband, you need to waistband label. Sorry, you need to consider that real leather has a quite high impact. and sustainable alternatives are in the very most cases based on fossil fuels. So maybe Jacron can be an option to reduce the impact, or maybe also replacing the waistband label with maybe an embroidery or maybe also a laser. Mud is actually doing a print on the waistband, like in the size of a label, so this print can stay on the garment and go into shredding as well. For sewing yarn, I would recommend to go for durability and still go for polyester-based yarns, because we want to create a durable garment that needs to stand industrial washing, cycling, wearing, home laundry, and because our mechanical recycling process can take a few percentages of synthetic fibers that will not disturb the recycling process. So after the garment is sewn, the next step will be industrial washing. I would focus on stone washing because of the lack of time. So stone washing works quite well. It takes some indigo from the surface of the yarn and creates some using effects, but we need to be aware that this causes toxic sludge and is harmful for the workers, uses lots of energy and water. I will go into detail. So we basically want to go from raw denim to a stone-washed optic. So that works because, as you can remember, the indigo is staying superficial on the yarn. So we can take pumice stones, which have a rough surface, to take off some indigo yarn and let the lighter parts shine through. This is basically how it works. So the stone takes off some layers of indigo yarn that creates those high-low effects, especially at seams, and also breaks in the denim fabric to make it softer. Here you can see the indigo did not penetrate the core of the yarn, so stone washing works well. So together in a huge washing machine, those pumice stones, together with the raw denims and water and some chemicals we need to create the washing we want, are washed, and because of those rubbing against next to each other, there are some artificial used effects created. But that's the problem of stone washing. So here you can see fresh pumice stones and stones after one washing, approximately 1 hour. So they are basically half the size. And here goes the other half. It becomes so-called sludge. Sludge is the toxic dust coming from abrasion inside the washing machine, fully soaked with indigo and all these chemicals we use for washing, that is dried and needs to be disposed in an appropriate way. And this is the other problem. Many new stones are needed every day. They need to be mined, processed, and transported, which comes off with lots of CO2 impact and energy costs. But the denim industry is aware of that problem and created some alternatives. So there are artificial stones, which also have a rough surface, but are based on clay, ceramics, or stuff like this, which wear down much slower. So they can stand up to 100 washing circles and create much less sludge. So there are different versions, different surfaces. It depends on the fabric you use and also the optic you want to create for industrial washing. But there is another option to go for an abrasion technology directly in the washing machine. So you can use some kind of sandpaper directly in the drum, which also creates those rough surface, which actually has the same effect. There are more washing technologies to further reduce the impact of industrial washing. You can use ozone wash for bleaching, and you can use laser technology for creating buffies or several effects. So there are many more. If you're interested, let's have a coffee later together, and I will go into detail. But what I wanted to mention as well is that in the very most cases, those sustainable washing technologies needs to be requested and developed together with the washing expert. So in the very most cases, according to my experience, if you don't specifically ask for their technologies and for going as sustainable as possible, using ozone bleach and so on, sometimes they still go for the conventional technology. So you need to be open, transparent, and in close contact with your washing developer. So circular design is a journey. You can start at several points. There is no blueprint for this journey. Just make sure you move into the right direction and you don't rest for too long. So this is actually the summary of my speech. Choose the right eye catcher to create emotional durability. Go for circular and durable materials, and be aware that everything needs to be disassembled to go back into the loop. Try to go for sustainable washing technology and be in close contact with your washing expert to create the most circular garment. And one last sentence from my side. Let's start to see garments like buildings made out of Lego bricks. So if you don't like your construction anymore, you would never consider to throw it away. You would actually disassemble it and build something new. So let's do the same with garments and use fibers like building blocks.
Wow.